So let's know why. Let's need not share the entire thing. It will not look good also. So. mm See, we were talking about classes and objects, the same thing. We were talking about the classes and objects. After that, I told you that in classes also I studied what do you mean by class. After that, what is an object? How do you create the object? That part is also clear. So after that, I told you that we will talk about inheritance. So then we spoke about the inheritance. What is inheritance? Like you know that what is advantage of inheritance, what is a base class, what is a derived class, and how many types of inheritance are there. So what are the advantages of using inheritance? So I in the last class also I gave some 5 examples, 4 examples I think. In the last class also I gave some 4 examples, right? Single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multiple inheritance, and I asked you to implement hybrid inheritance. Did anyone implement that hybrid inheritance? Anyone from the class? Has anyone from the class implemented hybrid inheritance? I told you that it's a combination of um, multiple inheritance and hierarchical inheritance. So if you combine these two things, you will be implementing the hybrid inheritance. Anyone from the class implemented that? So if you people have not implemented, if you people have not implemented means I'll just give you the template. I'll just give you the template. You can work on that. I'll just give you the template. You can work on that. But as a practice, you should implement that. One second. I'll just open that screen. Okay. Mm, you just let me know if the screen is visible. Uh, I'll just share the screen now. The entire screen I will share. So what I was talking, like I was talking about the hybrid inheritance. See, for inheritance, I've explained in the class, and I've also given an example. I've shown the demo for each of the 4 inheritances. But for the fifth one, hybrid inheritance, I told you people to implement that. But since I'm not getting any response from the class, so what I will do is I'll just give you a skeleton. I will just give you a skeleton or an overview of this hybrid inheritance. You people has to implement that. Is it clear? So how to implement this? How to implement this means, see, first line will be like hash include IOStream. Then using namespace std. So after this, the first class. See, check this. The first class is class A. So that will be the base class. So I'll just take one class as mammal. So inside this class, you write the code, meaning it should contain some functions. It should contain some function. After this, this mammal class will be used by two more classes. Two more classes. For example, class uh, all animals are mammal. Let's take some two examples of bat. We'll take some example of bat. One class called bat. Mm, and one you take one example of bat class. Uh, this bat class and one more class called uh, so I'll just take two more classes. I'll take one class called bat and I'll take one class called whale. Not maybe whale. So we'll just take some classes. So two classes I've taken. So now these two classes will act as a subclasses. The classes bat and whale will act as the child classes for the base class called mammal. So just create the inheritance relationship. Public mammal. Same way. Colon public mammal. So here now we have created one kind of inheritance where class A, from the class called a mammal, we have created two more classes, bat class and whale classes. They are using the features of mammal classes. After that, we will create one more class. We will create one more class. We will create one more class, maybe some class called not. Okay. There is no. Let's give something called not dog. Will take some classes like some class called. So any something, some class which should get the features, some class which should get the features of bat and whale. So you just look for the appropriate thing. Here I'll just give, I'll just go with the dog class. So this dog class should contain the features. It should get the features of bat and animal. So just I'll just give the syntax like public mode, public mode. I'm getting the features of bat class. Public mode, I'm getting the features of whale class. So this is a template. This is a template. So inside this template, you can write your own functions. You can write your own functions and you can implement this. So this is an example of hybrid inheritance. So for inheritance, I've shown you in the class. So this one you have to implement and show me. So you can take this as an assignment also. You just write it on the sheet of paper and you can send it in WhatsApp. So that you can do that, but you just implement that. Once you implement that, we will get to know that you have understood the concept of inheritance. Now inheritance is clear. Now you are clear with the inheritance. Inheritance means it's a process where property of one class will be acquired by the object of another class. So and also its advantage is reusability, like adding the features to an existing um, program without making major modifications. So like there will be already there is a feature of an existing class. That feature you're using into another class by creating a inheritance relationship between. Now we'll see some of the drawbacks. We'll see some of the issues that are there in inheritance. Like I'll just give with an example. There is one. You just consider this example. Hash include iostream dot h. Hash include iostream dot h. After that, the second one using namespace std. So after this, I'll create a class. I'll create one base class called base. Inside this, um, inside this, I'll just display uh, a method called, there is one method called display. Its main function is to display some message. Cout base class, base class. So after this, I'll I'll create one derived class. I'll name it as derived. So by this time, you should be clear with the syntaxes. I hope everyone knows the syntaxes, so that's why I'm not elaborating that much. Public. How do you derive the inheritance class? Derived class name, mode of access, then the base class name. So after this, now again in the public mode, again in the public way, I'll give the access modifier. I'll give the access modifier. I'll give the access modifier as public, and again I'll use the same method. Again I will use the same method. So here derived class, derived class. Now, can you observe one thing? Can you observe one thing? What is that you are observing now? So um, return 0. Okay. So what you are observing now? There is a class called base class. It is containing one function called display, and there is one more class called derived class that is also containing a function called display. And one more thing is, one more thing is this derived class is using the features of base class because there is an inheritance relationship. So now if I print, if I print, if I create an object of derived class. So first I'll create an object of base class. So I'll create an object of base class, base, just I'll take it as base bb. I'll just base class object bb dot display. So if I write like this, you know that I've created an object of base class, and if I print this, I'll get this as the output because I've created an object of base class and I'm accessing the display function. So I'll build this. Semicolon is missing. So I'll build this. I'll run this. So you know that the output is base class. I'm getting the output as base class. So let me proceed. Let me proceed further. Let me proceed further. So now I will create. Now I will create the object. Now I will create the object of derived class. Now I'll create the object of derived class. I'll take it as dd. So now I'll call it as dd dot display. I'll create dd dot display. So now you know that base class function name display, derived class function name display, but inheritance is there. Inheritance relationship is there between derived class and base class. So this function display, this function display is available. This function display of base class is also available in derived class. This function display, this function display of base class is available in derived class also. It is available in derived class also. Now if I execute this, if I execute this function called dd.display, whether whether the display method of derived class will be printed, or whether the display method of base class will be executed. Which one will be executed, whether the display function of base class or display function of derived class? Can anyone tell which function will be executed now, display of base class or display of derived class? Anyone from the class? Anyone from
Base
the class?
class.
Base class, Kirtana. Okay. Okay, Kirtana. See, if I execute this, if I execute like this, I'll run this. I'll just show. So now, uh, 1 second. So there is no error. So if I run this, the derived class function will be executed. The derived class function will be executed. Why? Because the base class function, whenever there is a whenever there is a base class function and derived class function which are having the same name, same name, and if you're trying to call the method from the derived class object, the preference will be given to function of derived class. So here, even though the name display is same, even though the display function of base class is also there and the display function of derived class is also there, the preference will always be given. The preference will always be given to the display function of derived class. But you will tell that no sir, I want to print, sir, I want to print the display function of base class. I want to print the display function of base class. So what to do? I want to print the display function of base class from the object of derived class. So for that the syntax is um, dd dot what is about dd 1 second, dd scope resolution base class name dot function name. It is not accessing. 1 second, I'll just check. So see now it is getting executed. So what is the syntax? You want to access the base class display function. You want to access the base class display function. So for that, the object of derived class, the object of derived class dot base class name. So here I've given the name of the base class as base. So that's why I'm using. So that you people will understand. And the function of base class display. Any doubt here? See, if I write this statement, the function which is there in derived class will be displayed. If I write the statement, see the output, you will get the output as derived class. The derived class function will be executed because a preference will be given to that. Sir, I don't want to execute the display function of derived class. I want to execute the display function of base class. So for that you can follow this syntax. The syntax is the derived class object dot the base class name. Scope resolution operator, will study what is scope resolution operator in the further classes, and the display function, the function name. So derived object dot base class, scope resolution operator, function name. Any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? Yes or no? Is this point clear? How to access the base class function? How to access the derived class function whenever the two classes are having the same function? Any doubt? Yes or no? Yes, no? uh, Kirtana, any doubts? Kirtana, any doubts? Kushi, any doubts?
No, sir.
This point is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so why I told you like this, why I gave you this example means, so there is also one more variant to this. So you can also see, you can also pass this function here also. So here also, from from the function of derived class, you can call the function of base class also. I just build this, so there is no error. There is no error. So now if I call this display
No, sir.
function, now if I call this display function dd
No,
dot
sir.
display, if I call this display function dd dot display, it will print the function of derived class. The function of derived class contains the output as derived class. So after this line, we have one more function. We have one more function,
No,
uh,
sir.
which is okay. So after this, see one more variation to this. One more variation to this, where how you can call a function of base class from the function of derived class. So for that, you just need to write the base class name, the scope resolution operator, then the function name of base class. So now if I write dd.display, by now you know that if I write this bb.display, it will execute the function of derived class. So bb.display means this function will be executed. So this function contains derived class as the output. So the first line of output will be derived class. So here there is a spelling mistake, dir, it's a typing mistake. So anything is that will be displayed. So the first one is derived class. After this, the second line, this will be executed. Once this line is being executed, it will call the function of base class. So what is output of this? So if this function is executed, you will get the output as base class. So if I run this, you can see the output derived class, base class. So derived class, why it is coming means I'm calling this function called dd dot display. I'm calling this function called dd dot display. So this function is getting executed, and because of this execution we'll get the output as derived class. After this line, we are calling one more function, that is the function of base class. So display, so what is the output, what will the output if you will get for that? You'll get the output as base class. So only you're getting these two outputs, derived class, base class. So this is one thing. So why I gave you an example, why I gave you an example of this means, you can see, you can see this hierarchical you can see this hybrid inheritance. See, in hybrid inheritance, there is one class called a, there is one class called a. After this, there is one class called a. uh, then class b, it will be using the features of class a. Class b is using the features of class a, and class c will also use the features of class C will also use the features of um, class A. Then there is one more class called D. It is using the features of, B, comma C. So here you should be careful. Here you should be careful. So for example, class A contains some common function. So that common function is shared among B and C. So whenever D is also using the inheritance relationship B and C means, so the function which is there in A is available to B class and it is available to C class also. And also if there is any common functionality, if there is any common functionality between B and C, so both the functions will be available, both the functions will be available, um, both the functions will be available to class D, thereby creating some confusion or ambiguity. So if you know this thing, you will be clear with how to clear the ambiguity. For example, you can check this multiple inheritance. There is a class A and there is a class B. So there is a class A and class B. So if both the classes contains same method, if both the classes contains um, if both the classes contains same methods, then which function will the class C executes. So that is what the ambiguity. Whenever two classes are having the same functions, um, and one more class is deriving those two classes, or inheritance relationship is being created between those two classes with the another with the child class, then the function is getting repeated. So how it will be cleared in C++. So this is what one major ambiguity. So for
Repeat
example,
once again, sir.
okay, I'll just explain with an example so that you people will be clear with that. It will be better, I think. So uh, now um, hash view this line 1 second. Hash include, I'll type it as soon as possible. IO stream, okay. Hash include IO stream. Then namespace std. So now there is one class called animal. Okay, there is one class called animal. So this will assume that this will act as the base class. So there is one class called animal. So for this, I will just include one method called eat method. Just include one method called eat method. Then cout. Just type the message as eating in animal class. Eating in animal class. So now 1 second. I'll just make some changes. Okay. So one class is there. There is a class called animal. For this class called animal, I'm using a function called eat. What it is doing, it is telling some message class eating in animal class. After that, I'll create one more class called um, dog class. I'll create one more class called dog class. So, and I will use the same function. I'll use the same function. I'll use the same function. Void eat. Void eat. After this, cout. Eating in dog class. Okay, dog class slash. Okay. So now we have two functions. One is the function of uh, animal class, which contains a method called eat method. And also there is one more function, the same name, which is available in dog class also. Is this part clear? I'm minimizing this for your understanding. Is this part clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
One class called animal, it contains a function called eat, and one class called dog, it contains a function called eat. So two classes are there. Both the classes are containing the function called eat function. Both the classes are containing the function called eat function. So now I'll create one more class puppy. So I'll create one more class called puppy, and I'll create the inheritance relationship between those two classes. So I'm deriving the class of I'm getting creating an inheritance relationship between the animal class and the puppy class. I'm creating the inheritance relationship between the puppy class and dog class. So two. both the classes I'm creating the inheritance. Is this part clear? Clear, huh? Is this part clear? See,
Yes, sir.
animal class eat function, dog class eat function. Two methods are or two functions are same. Now I'm creating an multiple relationship, like multiple inheritance relationship, because I'm creating one more class called puppy class. So here animal is also base class, dog is also base class. So these two base classes I'm referring to the child classes. So now here I'm creating an inheritance relationship. That means the puppy class is taking the features of animal class as well as the dog class. It is taking the features of animal class, it is taking the features of dog class. But but both the classes contains both the classes, like dog class and animal class contains same method eat. It contains same method eat. So to know that how it will work, I'll just add one method to this puppy class, just on one method called sleep method. It will just print sleeping, puppy sleeping, or I'll just write it as sleeping. That's all. So now now we'll go to the main function. Now we'll go to the main function. Here only the actual implementation will understand. We'll go to the main function. So integer main, open the parenthesis, return type is 0. Okay. So after this, now I'll create the object of puppy class. I'll create the object of puppy class, puppy pp. I'll just call it as pp. So now if I write pp dot sleep, I'll get the output as sleeping. So you can check that. There is error. Okay. Semicolon is missing. So that is the one thing. So if I write no errors, if I run this, I'll get the output as puppy, and that is sleeping. So that is the method of puppy class is being executed. But what will happen? What will happen if I try to execute? So listen, what will happen if I try to execute puppy dot eat? Now, now this eat function is there in animal class. The same eat function is there in dog class. Two classes are having the same function name, and this puppy class is taking the features from both the classes also, animal class as well as the dog class. So if I write like this, what might happen? If I write like this, what will happen? So two base classes are there, and those two base classes are having the same name, means the same function name. So there is one more subclass which is taking the features from both the base classes, and it is accessing a method that is common. Now the pp.it is common, so it will create a confusion. It will create a confusion. So you will get an error because the compiler doesn't know whether, see, it is telling the eat function is ambiguous. That means the compiler doesn't know whether it wants to execute the eat function of dog class or whether it want to execute the eat function of animal class, because this dog and animal class contains the same method called eat function. Is it clear? Is this part clear? Whether it is clear till
Yes,
now?
sir.
It is clear now. So
Yes,
now
sir.
how to overcome this? How to overcome this means I just gave an example, right? So how to overcome this means, if I want to access, if I want to print, puppy class contains eat method of animal class, eat method of dog class. If I want to print eat method of animal class, then object dot class name. What is the class name? I want to print the eat method of animal class, animal. Then the function which I want to print. So now you will not get any error because I'm telling the compiler that I want to print the eat method of animal class. So I'll build this, I'll run this. See, eating in animal class. Now I want to print the eat method of dog class. So object, the class name, and the function. So I'll build this, I'll run this. Is this part clear? Yes or no? Clear
Yes,
with this,
sir.
right? So So that is what. So that's why I told you people to implement this hybrid inheritance so that you'll come up with this scenario. When two base classes are having the same functions, so it will be an ambiguity for the child class object whenever it
Excuse
is
me, sir.
calling. Yes, yes. Uh,
So at the same time, we can't execute both the classes. Means both the eat function in both the classes.
if you want to execute, means the same thing. The same thing. You just need to call. This is for dog. This is for animal. So now it will work. Now we can execute the eat function of both the classes. See, the function which is was there in puppy class, the function eat which was there in dog class, the function eat which was there in animal class. So you just need to specify, that's all. Eat function of dog class, eat function of animal class. In this way, if you write these two statements, you can execute the eat function of both the classes. Is it clear? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is what. So that's why I always tell you people to practice the code. So if you start writing the code, you will come up with these kind of scenarios. So that is what. So you try to implement this hybrid inheritance. So you might come up with these kind of issues. So this is how the ambiguity will be cleared. So this is regarding the inheritance. So this part is regarding the inheritance. The complete thing we have discussed, all the scenarios which might and which we might come up in inheritance is clear now. So now we will go with the other thing. Now we will go with the other concepts of what do we call other concepts of oops. So the next thing was see, first thing was inheritance was the major thing, so we have covered this. Now we'll talk about the encapsulation. So encapsulation means the same thing. There will be one class. Within that class you're wrapping up the data, means the variables and the functions into a single unit. So that we will call it as the encapsulation. So um, see, encapsulation basic definition is like wrapping up of data and the information as a single unit. So in C++, in object-oriented programming, we will call encapsulation as binding together the data and the function which will manipulate them. So we have a class. We have a class which will declare the data or which contains the data and the functions to manipulate that data. So um, see, example of this real-time examples of this encapsulation can be like, see, in company, organization, there will be different sections like there will be finance section, there will be sales section, there will be account sections. The finance section will take care of financial transaction, and it will keep the data related to finance. The sales team or the sales section will take care of the details related to all the sales and the records related to all the sales. So this is like for example, like see, if there is on people, if there is a people from if there is a team from financial section, if they want to access the data that is there in sales section, so you'll not be allowed directly to access that data. For that, he has to contact the officer in the sales section, and then he has to request him to give access to the particular data. That is, he doesn't have any direct accessing. So financial team will have access to their financial data, sales team will have the access to their sales data. For example, a person from financial team, if he wants to access the data that is there in the sales team, means he cannot access data. He has to request he has to request some officer in the sales team for accessing a particular data. So that is what. So this what this encapsulation will do means it will prevent unauthorized access of data or functionality. The data will be accessible only within the class. For example, the data related to sales team will be available within the class called sales, and anyone who are there inside that class called sales can access them. The outsiders to the outside function, or the outside function or outside world can be the financial team. um, so this is how. So here that is what I'm telling. The sales will be the details related to sales will be there in one unit. Is this example clear? Is this example clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now Now we'll just go with one small example of encapsulation. So what? So the same thing. So this already you would have already um, you would have come up across this example, but we'll go through it once again. So I'll just clear all this. So we'll create one class called, I'll just see, class name can be anything. So since I'm talking about encapsulation, I'll call it as encapsulation. I'll just call this as encapsulation. So after this, I'll create one variable. Um, integer x. So this we have cleared. So now, since we are talking about encapsulation, so this data should be available only within this function. So that is our thing. What encapsulation will do? Encapsulation, what it will do means it is wrapping up the data and the function as a single unit. So for that case, I'll make this variable as private. So I'll make this variable x as private so that it is accessible only within this class called encapsulation. Outside the class you cannot access that variable. So for that, for accessing this variable within this class called encapsulation, I'll create a function called void, some function called set, um, some variable called b. Then I'll assign the value of that variable b to this variable x. So this is for giving the value to the variable x. So this is like a function to give a value or to set a value to the variable x. And now in order to read that value, in order to read the value of x, I'll create one get function. So what it will do is it will return me the value of x, return x. So that's all. So in our example, what I'm doing means I'm creating a variable called x in the private access. I like the accessing is private, and I'm creating two functions called a set function and get function. Set function is for setting the value of x, and get function is for retrieving the value of x. So anything, if you cannot access this variable x outside this class. If you want to access them, you can access them through the functions that are present inside the class called encapsulation. And now I'll go to the main function. Now I'll go to the main function. Um, inside the main function, uh, and zero. Okay. Inside the main function, I'll create an object. I'll create an object of this class. I'll call it as enc. Uh, I want to access the variable x. Variable x cannot be accessed directly. So it can be accessed only through the functions. So what functions are there? Um, there are two functions called set function and get function. Set function is used for setting the value. So I will set the value of a as I'll set the value of x as 10. It is accepting integer parameter, and after that um, after that I want to retrieve that value. So in order to retrieve that value, I'll just print it. That's all. I'll just print cout value of x, and what is a function to retrieve the value? Object dot get function. Using get function, you can retrieve the value. This is for giving the value to x, and this is for this function is for retrieving the value of x. So I will build this. I'll run this. If I run, you will get the output as value of x as 10. So whatever I'm passing it in the set function, the same value, I'm getting it as the output. So now what do you understand by this? So in this program, in this program, um, I've made the variable x as private. So this variable x can be manipulated. This variable x can be accessed only by the two functions, set function and get functions. So this set function and get functions are there inside the class called encapsulation. This is there inside a class called encapsulation. So thereby this variable x, this function get, this function set, they are binded together. So which is nothing but encapsulation. the wrapping up of data and function into a single unit. We will call it as encapsulation. Is it clear? And see, here I cannot directly access the value x. I cannot access this value x directly from this main function because I made it as private. Is this point clear? So this is a classic example of encapsulation. Is this concept clear? Encapsulation. What do you mean by encapsulation? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so this is one example of encapsulation. So now we'll talk about one more feature. We'll talk about one more feature called abstraction. So abstraction means like I told you that um, see like it will only display the essential features or essential information, and it will hide the details. So abstraction refers to the act of representing only essential features without adding the background details or without adding the explanation. For example, I told you that, so if you just take a key of an automobile and if you switch on that, the automobile will switch on. So you are not concerned about the working of that, the mechanism behind the starting of that automobile. Or if you are giving an acceleration, the vehicle will move forward. You are not worried about the background working of background mechanism that is there. Or if you take a remote of a TV, and if you just press the switch on button, the TV will get switched on. So you are not concerned about the mechanism. So these are some of the um, examples of abstraction. So abstraction means it will display only the necessary details or essential details, like the essential information, and it will hide the background working details. So um, that is, it can be like background implementation or background details. For the example which I gave was like, if you just press an accelerator of a bike, the bike sorry car, the accelerator will increase the speed of the car. And if you press on the brake, the if you just press the brake, the speed of the car will be reduced, and also the car will stop. So you don't worry about the mechanism behind that. So how to implement this abstraction. So where and all this abstraction is being used? You already would have used this abstraction. Like one thing is like, for example, you would have studied one function, you would have studied one header file called math.h. So you know that using that header file math.h, whenever you want to calculate the square root of a number, you will just call that function name. So you're not worried about how the square root of a number is being calculated. So you just use that header file hash include math.h, and you will just call that function square root of 4, square root of 25. You are not worried about how that square root is being calculated by the system. Or you want to find a power of a number. So if you want to find a power of a number, you also know that the power method is present inside the math.h header file. So you'll just call that function to find um, the power of a number. So these are the places where you have used this data abstraction without your knowledge also. So that is in a using math dot header file, you would have used this square root function and power function. So um, so how we can implement this data abstraction? So how we can implement this data abstraction in C++. So for that, we'll just go with the coding example. So for here also, see, for data abstraction also, we will do the same thing. For data abstraction also, what we will do means, um, you know that the variables or the members of a class which are declared as public can be accessed from anywhere outside the program also, but members which are declared as private can be accessed only from within the class. So they cannot access from outside the class. So we can implement the abstraction using these two features. Using these two features, we can implement the abstraction. So for example, here also what I will do means I will make the variable as private. I'll make the variable as private, and the function I will make it as public. So what will happen? So for example, um, here the implementation is being done by the variables. Whatever operation is there, it is being done by the variables. So, and the important information like displaying of those variables can be done through the function. So those things I will make it as public. For example, it will be better if I explain with the examples. So the same thing, I'll just this is an example of abstraction, so I'll take it as abstraction. So
Excuse me,
action.
sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, till now screen wasn't visible, sir.
No. I have not typed anything. Now I've started. Till now the slides was visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm giving the example of programming. So this is an example of
Okay, sir.
abstraction. This is an example of abstraction. So here also variable I will make it as private. I'll make the variable as private, integer x comma y, or integer a comma b. I'll take two variables. I'll make it as private. Then I'll take functions as public. So I'll take one function called void set integer x comma integer y. Again, um, I'm giving the value of x to a, and I'm giving the value of y to p. After that, I'll just display those functions. I'll just display those functions. Display void display void display. What I'm supposed to display is the value of a and b. Cout a is equal to a, and the same thing. Just copy this to save time. Cout a is equal to cout b b. So what I'm doing means, so here what I'm doing means, here since I made the variable a and b as private, you cannot access that variable directly. You cannot access that variable directly, but you can access that variable a and b. That means you can give value to the variable a and b by using the function called set function. The set function is taking two parameters x and y. So using the set function, you can give the value to the variables. So after that, after that, you are using the display function. You are using the display function to display the value of a and b. So what it is happening? What it is happening here? Here, what it is happening means, see, um, we have made, see here the implementation is like, here the implementation is printing the value of a and b. So what I am doing means, whatever I want to print, I've made it as private. So I want to print the value of a and b, so that that variable a and b, I've made it as private in a class. And the only information which I want to give to the outside world is setting the variables a and b. For that I'm using set function, and to display the values of a and b, so that I made it as private. So now what will happen? Now what will happen means, now you know that what is the name? Abstraction. ab yes abstraction. I'll call the object name as ab. So after this, I want to set the value of a and b. Directly I cannot set. So I'll just call it as ab dot. Which functions are there? Functions to set. Functions to set. Functions to set the value. Which function is being used to give the value? Which function you are using to set the value of a and b? Which function? Can anyone tell which function is being used? See whether you're following this. So which function you're using to set the value? See, you will be using the set function to set the value. For example, I want to give the value of a as 50, and I want to give the value of b as 100. So using set function, if I'm giving the value as 50 and 100 here, set function what here, x will take the value 50 and y will take the value 100. So 50, so a is equal to 50, so a will get the value 50. B is equal to y, what is the value of y? Y is 100, so b is equal to 100, so b will get the value 100. So if I call the display function means a value, if I call the display function means it will print the value of a and b, ab dot display. So it is printing the value of a and b. So value of a is 50 and the value of b is 100. I'll just add one new line here so that so what is happening means here, see here you're just here you are just calling this display function. Here you are just calling in the main function, you are just calling the set function and display function. You're calling the set function, you're calling the display function. You don't know the background implementation of that. You don't know the background implementation of that. So by calling the set function, the that function is setting the values of a and b with 50 and 100. And by calling the display function, that is being printed. So you are not worried about the internal implementation. You are just calling the function name and you are getting getting that implementation of that functionality. Is this point clear? For example, if I had created a function called is prime, I would have created a function called is prime. So if you call this function called is prime, you would have got the output like whether the number is prime or not. So you are not worried about the implementation of that prime function to check whether a number is not prime or not. You are just using that function. Is this concept clear? The data abstraction. See, abstraction means you are not worried about the details. You will just call the function and you are not worried about the implementation of that function. You will directly get the output. Is this point clear? The data abstraction. See, this data
Yes.
abstraction and data encapsulation will look similar. So this is regarding the data abstraction. I want the class to be more interactive. The class to be more interactive. So after this, so after this, we have polymorphism. So polymorphism, I'll just give some overview of this thing. So the implementation or the programming example I'll give in the next class. Now in this class, it will take time. So polymorphism means I told you that it is like ability to take more than one form. For example, see for example a real time example can be like um, some uh, a person will have different characteristics. For example, um, in his home he can be an father. In a company, he will be an employee. The same person inside the house, he will be a father. When he goes to the company, he will be an employee. So the same person is having two different what do we call two different features or two different characteristics. So this is one of the examples of polymorphism. Like one person having different features. For example, so you will be a son or a daughter in your house. When you come to the college, you will be student. That is example. Two different characteristics of this polymorphism. So and also the polymorphism is also one of the important features of this object oriented programming system. So here in polymorphism also we have two things. Okay, one is compile time polymorphism and the second one is runtime polymorphism. For compile time polymorphism, we can give an example of function overloading. Like what do you mean by function overloading? Means um, function will have the same name. Function will have the same name but different number of parameters. Like for example, there is a function called add. It will perform the addition of two integers. And there is one more function called add. It will perform the addition of three numbers. For example, that means the first function is having the first function is having the first function will have like this addition of integer a comma integer b. The next function will have integer a comma integer b comma integer c. So like these are some of the this will call it as function loading. I'm just giving the definition now. The implementation we can see in the next classes, and also compile time. Next one is a runtime polymorphism. For that, we can give virtual function as the examples. So as of now, you just know that polymorphism means ability to take more than one form. So example is the one which the simple example which I gave. Um, in the class, like you can be, for example, I can be someone can be a father in their house, and he can be an employee in the organization, the two different characteristics. And you can be a child, you can be a son or a daughter in your house, and when you go to the college you will be student. This is some real life examples. And here compile time in C++ polymorphism is divided into two types: compile time polymorphism, runtime polymorphism. So we'll see the examples of compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism in the next classes. So I'll stop the class at this point of time. Remaining we'll see in the next classes. If you have any doubts, any issues, you can stop me in between the class itself or after the class also. That's not an issue. Yes, yes.
So what's the difference between encapsulation and abstraction, sir?
See,
Both.